Hello and welcome back to the channel. This was inevitably going to happen. I was prepared and ready to make this video today, and when the news broke, I was actually out at a local pub trying to enjoy a family meal, and I felt physically ill. I felt physically sick reading the news that Javi Gracia has resigned from his position. And what I will say is that at least he has morals and self-integrity. The same can't be said for those at the top of our football club. Before we dive further into my thoughts, I'm going to read you the official club statement released by Watford this morning. The club is sad and disappointed to confirm the resignation of Javi Gracia as head coach. We retain the belief Javi was the right man to lead the club towards its push for promotion. Javi felt he no longer had the motivation and was not the right man to continue coaching this exciting group of young players. We respect his decision and accept his wish to leave Vicarage Road with immediate effect. Charlie Daniels, Daniel Goslin and Adrian Mariappa will take charge of the team against Hull City on Tuesday night. We remain well placed in the Championship, 4 points off the playoffs with a game in hand and 17 matches remaining. Everybody at the club believes wholeheartedly that this squad is capable of challenging for promotion. We would like to thank Javi and his team for their work during their 2 spells at the club. We wish him and his family all the best, and they will always receive the warmest of welcomes at Watford. Okay, where do we begin? So much to discuss in such little time, so I will try and be as concise as possible. Firstly, we have to address the fact that Javi has chosen to resign from his position. Firstly, I thank Javi for his time at the club, and as Watford said in their statement, I certainly do wish Javi all the best for the future. But how embarrassing is it for the club that instead of sacking a manager like they usually do, the manager has chosen to leave off his own accord? That sends such a powerful message across our fan base, but also across the entire footballing landscape. A manager at Watford has chosen to resign rather than receiving a payoff via a sacking. That tells you a lot about how they operate at the top and how quickly the relationship between both Javi and the owner has disintegrated. Unbelievable. I cannot believe what I'm witnessing and reading today. So firstly, that's the very important part. He's chosen to resign rather than be sacked. That's a rarity for us anyway. And secondly, in the club statement, just a couple of interesting lines to bring you. They say, Watford, that they retained the belief Javi was the right man to lead the club forward. I doubt that. I felt if Javi managed against Hull and then lost, he would have gone anyway via a sacking. So I'm not sure I believe that from Watford. And then the line after that is that Javi felt he no longer had the motivation and was not the right man to continue coaching this exciting group of young players. Well, throughout December, he seemed very motivated. The squad seemed to like him. They seemed to gel. What's happened between then? It's the January transfer window. Of course, that is the common denominator. It's always been the case at Watford. The wheels fall off after the new year, and it's happened yet again. Who do we blame? Yes, people. It's them at the top. It's Scott Duxbury. It's Gino Pozzo. It's Gianluca Nani. It's these stinky smells that have been hanging around our club for way too long. What I will say on Javi, though, is that, yes, I do agree with the majority of you watching at home. He should have done better with the players he had at his disposal. For one reason or another, he chose not to use a large proportion of his squad. That may have ultimately led to some of the injury issues we've seen due to repeatedly playing the same 11 over and over again. And as I said, he should have been getting more consistent results, especially of late against weaker sides in the Championship. So I will say that Javi should have been doing better. But who hired Javi? Yeah, Scott Duxbury and Gino Pozzo and Gianluca Nani. They hired Javi. They knew exactly what Javi was like in his first spell. He was rigid. He was pragmatic. He played a 4-4-2. He didn't really like flary, wide attacking players. We saw it with Gerard Deulofeu and we saw it with Ismail Assar. That was a big issue for Gino Pozzo about Javi in his first spell, and that is ultimately what led to his dismissal originally. So bringing Javi back for a second time, I'm not sure what the club expected. We all said it when Javi was appointed. We all said we really hope he does well, of course. I'm never going to wish a manager to do badly at Watford. But as fans, it was obvious to us. We knew that Javi Gracia was a stubborn manager who was stuck in his own ways. And that is ultimately come to part again. Where do we go from here? Well, we have a match against Hull City on Tuesday. That is coming up very, very quickly. As the club alluded to in their statement, Charlie Daniels, Daniel Goslin and Adrian Mariappa will be taking charge for that one. But looking longer term, what is the solution? Do we bring in an interim until the end of the season and then reassess in the summer depending on our situation? Do we hire someone full-time for the foreseeable future and looking more longer term? Or do we stick with Daniels, Goslin and Mariappa like we did with Tom Cleverley as a short-term solution and then again reassess in the summer? There's lots to ponder, lots to discuss. Before I started recording today as well, I looked at the latest Watford FC betting odds. Of course, you can't read too much into betting this early on when it comes to managerial appointments. But former QPR and Leicester manager Marty Cifuentes is the current favourite at 5-1. Will Still and Russell Martin just behind in second and third as well. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting few hours, few days, few weeks ahead for us. And this is such a crucial time for our football club. I'm really concerned about the direction of travel we're going in. And as I said on my video yesterday, where is our owner? Where is our CEO? They are nowhere to be seen. And that should tell you a lot about the respect they have for you as supporters. I care about this club. You care about this club. In my opinion, they don't. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.